Hi everyone. Today I'm going to take you through the case study of Tata Group on creating a corporate advantage. There appear to be some important differences between the way corporate parenting advantage is created by a business group and the way it is created by a typical multi-business corporation in the West. This case aims to bring out this learning through a detailed description of the way by which the parent organization at the Tata Group attempts to add value. So before moving to this case study, I would request you to subscribe 5 Minutes Learning channel in YouTube. In order to get my recent case studies, please subscribe to 5 Minutes Learning channel. Also, this video is enabled with English subtitles for your better understanding. Now let's move to the case study. As Tata Group geared up for its new chairman in the year December 2012, R. Gopalakrishnan, Director, Tata Sons and a member of the Group Executive Office and Group Corporate Center of the Tata Group, reflected on the past 15 years he had spent with the group and the group's evolution. The first thing he noticed was that the parent was unlisted and the subsidiaries were listed, which is very uncommon for a Western type of conglomerate. That provides a vast degree of freedom to the listed subsidiary and yet a nurturing relationship between the parent. RG thought the best way to describe the relationship between the corporate and the affiliate companies in the Tata Group was through the metaphor of the traditional joint family system in India. In this system, an extended family of parents and the families of their sons and daughters shared a large house called a Haveli. In such a house, there was some common property shared by all the members and some private property that belonged to individual members. And the culture was that of live and let live. Since Mr. RG also realized that there were downsides to such a structure in Tata Group, he started Project Prune, where they try to realize some economies of scale and scope across group companies. However, there was no diktat on implementing the project. The Project Prune team worked with the management of the different group companies and made them aware of some cost-saving opportunities to pool their purchases. But the individual companies were completely free to choose whether or not to participate in the project. It was observed that Project Prune worked very well in some areas while it did not work in some areas. For example, they tried to pool media buying across companies, which could result in huge savings for the group and for each of the companies. But when companies did not feel comfortable, they decided to let go. In a conglomerate like GE or even in some other business groups in India, such a measure would have been enforced. But the Tata Group did not do it. Still, Mr. RG felt that this was probably the right way of doing things given the diversified nature, structure, and culture of the Tata Group, and the fact that many of the group's affiliate companies were independent public companies listed on stock exchanges, each with its own board of directors and leadership. Yet he knew that the group's approach was open to debate. The Tata Group had a distinct culture, which Mr. RJ could only describe as Tata-ness. Just as the Indian nation, with its multitude of languages, customs, and traditions, was held together for centuries by a common culture, Tata-ness was the critical glue that bound the diverse businesses of the Tata groups together and created a common identity. Tata-ness was never defined in specific terms and primarily existed in the minds of senior employees of the Tata Group. It was more like a way of life in the Tata Group. The group's structure evolved on the basis of the belief that too much control hindered the creativity of people in the organization. It attempted to strike a balance between the need for command and control in running the organization and the need to be creative, innovative, and free-flowing. An important aspect of Tata-ness was that group services were not limited to only the big fish among the group companies. Smaller or less profitable companies were not denied group services. The BEBP agreement had a provision where a company could pay a certain percentage of its turnover or a percentage of its profit, whichever is lower, to obtain the group services. Thus, if a company did not make profit, it paid nothing. Most conglomerates, particularly those in the West, viewed their structure as a typical hierarchy with a holding company at the top and other companies below, with the smaller companies at the bottom, three-fourths like a pyramid. This is considered as the physics view. In contrast, the Tata Group preferred a botany view, which regarded the group as a tree with the parents three-fourths Tata Sons and the trust three-fourths forming the roots. The larger companies formed the tree trunks and bigger branches, while the smaller companies were its smaller branches and leaves. The roots provided nourishment in the form of values, ethics, and strategic guidance to the whole tree, while the topmost branch and the leaves, though small, were important as they received the greatest exposure to the sun and oxygen. In this slide, let's see the structure of the Tata Group. Tata Sons was the primary holding company of the Tata Group. Established as a trading firm in the year 1868, Tata Sons had the majority promoter holding in all the major Tata companies. The chairman of Tata Sons, by tradition, also served as the chairman of the Tata Group. In the 140 years of its existence, the Tata Group had only 5 chairmen. In 2012, it was witnessing the leadership transition from its fifth chairman Ratan Tata to the new chairman designate Cyrus Mistry. In line with the Tata Group's core philosophy, what comes from the people must go back to the people many times over. Two-thirds of the equity of Tata Sons was held by philanthropic trust, Sir Dorabji Tata Trust, Sir Ratan Tata Trust, and other Tata Trust endowed by members of the Tata family. The remaining one-third stake of the equity of Tata Sons was distributed among a few Tata companies, other corporates, and individuals. Tata Sons was not listed on the stock exchange. The Tata name and trademark, which was registered in India and several other countries, was owned by Tata Sons. The term of use of the Tata mark and logo by Tata companies were governed by the Brand Equity Business Promotion Agreement, which was also known as BEBP Agreement, which was signed between Tata Sons and individual group companies. In addition to subsidiary companies operating various businesses, Tata Sons together with Tata Industries and Tata Services operated several fully owned divisions that provide a set of centralized services to group companies to facilitate their business activities and derive some synergies. These were Tata Quality Management Services, Group Legal, Group HR, Tata Management Training Center, Group Corporate Affairs, Public Affairs Department, Department of Economics and Statistics, and Tata Strategic Management Group. The other promoter holding company in the Tata Group was Tata Industries Limited. Tata Industries was initially set up by Tata Sons in the year 1945 as a managing agency for business promoting by Tata Sons. After the managing agency system was abolished, its mandate was recast in the early 1980s to being a vehicle for the group's entry into new and high-tech businesses. Tata Sons held a majority equity stake in Tata Industries and several Tata companies held minority stake in the company. Tata Industries also had two operating divisions that functioned as independent profit centers, namely Tata Strategic Management Group, and Tata Interactive Systems. Tata Industries approached existing group companies if it saw business opportunities that would be beneficial for them. Traditionally, the chairman of the Tata Sons was also the chairman of the Tata Group and assumed the chairmanship of Tata Industries and other major Tata companies, each of which had their own executive boards. The director of Tata Sons and Tata Industries were nominated as director on the board of some Tata Group companies, which also had executive directors from the company as well as outside experts who acted as an independent directors. The executive board of each of the company was supreme and enjoyed complete freedom. In the year 1992, when Ratan Tata took over as a chairman, the Tata Group was a loose confederation of companies with a weak common identity. The first step in developing a common identity for the group was the creation and nurturance of a unified Tata brand in 1997. The Tata brand was managed at the group level, and the power of the brand opened doors at all levels of group companies. In 1998, a corporate identity program, BEBP, Brand Equity Brand Promotion Agreement, was instituted after gaining concern from the boards of the companies. Its purpose was to sustain the power of the Tata brand and streamline the use of the Tata name by the group companies. Through BEBP agreement, they did not mandate the agreement. Companies that wished to use the Tata brand had to participate in the program and run their businesses as per the guidelines of the Tata Business Excellence Model and Tata Code of Conduct, which were a part of the adoption of BEBP agreement. Companies were charged for their subscription to BEBP on basis of the specific version of the BEBP agreement that they signed. The Tata Business Excellence Model was a critical part of the Tata Group's BEBP agreement. Once companies signed the BEBP agreement, they were required to show scalable improvement as per the TBEM performance standard within 3 years. TBEM was a business excellence model which had been adapted from the renowned Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Model, which was an award program of the United States government. The essence of this framework was adopting a proactive attitude rather than a reactive one. The model worked under the aegis of Tata Quality Management Services, which is an in-house organization formed as a division of Tata Sons and mandated to help different Tata companies in order to achieve their business excellence and improvement goals. Next, let's see about Tata Services Limited. In the year 1957, the group incorporated Tata Services Limited to provide all the Tata Group companies access to a set of centralized services. The Tata Services operated on a non-profit, no profit, no loss basis. These services were either fully or partially funded through BEBP based on whether they benefited the entire group or only catered to the needs or activities of specific companies. Services that were company specific were charged to the concerned company. Tata Services had specialized division and departments that handled different areas of services. These include Group Human Services, the Department of Economics and Statistics, Group Corporate Affairs Department, Public Affairs Department, Tata Management Training Center, Group Legal, Labor Relation Bureau, Tata Central Archives, and the Network IT Department. They helped to provide significant synergetic advantages across the group. Though these services were available to all of the Tata companies, the companies had complete discretion over whether to use them or not. The group services had to sell themselves to group companies as there was no mandate on their use from the group headquarters. This was a unique facet of the structure, 3 by 4 and owner shareholder providing central services to companies and treating those companies as customers. One of the major benefits to such a group structure was that it kept everybody at the group level on their toes, as they had to prove their functional utility and excellence to financially sustain their units. Thank you for watching this video. See you soon with another interesting case study.